Okay, hello. Today is the birthday of this remarkable North American architect, Brice Goff. Let's read a little bit about him. So Brice Alonzo Goff, born on June 8th, and today is June 8th, 1984, was an American architect distinguished by his organic, eclectic, and often flamboyant designs for houses and other buildings in Oklahoma and elsewhere. A 1951 Life magazine article stated that Goff was one of the few US architects whom Frank Lloyd Wright considered creative. Scorned houses that are boxes, he scorned houses that are boxes with little holes. That's what this magazine said, and this was the man with very eccentric shirts, indeed eccentric and flamboyant. Even again, another, rather distinguishable shirt. Here he is a little bit more dressed like in our time. And here, surprise, surprise, here he is with Frank Lloyd Wright. Yes, the lady on the right is actually Frank Lloyd Wright. When I first saw this picture, I thought that the person on the right dressed like a man, but I thought, she was a lady, an old lady. Well, he's actually Frank Lloyd Wright. And, indeed, he was rather short. And it seems Brice Goff was rather tall. Anyway, you can tell from the smile on Brice Goff's face that he was looking with affection towards Frank Lloyd Wright. This picture was taken in 1949, so I think Frank Lloyd Wright was 82 years old in this picture. Anyway, yes, Goff and Wright. Drawings by Brice Goff, the man who never studied architecture in a school, and he actually applied to his life, the advice coming from Frank Lloyd Wright. This is the house he built, and we are going to see it in detail. Yes, very, almost fantastic architecture. That's what Brice Goff was famous for, and he succeeded in producing an architecture more alarmingly novel than the one actually made by Frank Lloyd Wright. Bavinger House, if I pronounce well, this is the house that we saw in some drawings. And unfortunately, it was sold piece by piece. It doesn't exist any longer, which is very sad. But it was a remarkable house, one of the best that he built. This untrained architect, if we are to call him so, with a wild imagination. And here are, tourists, architects, students, whatever. Look at the living room, with water inside the living room and crystals and stones and, connected with nature. It's so sad that this building does not exist. Someone made money, and I think the son of the people who commissioned the house, he sold the house piece by piece. Well, somebody wrote that he was more like a folk architect, opposed to the academic architect. Well, I wouldn't call him folk. He was attracted by fantastic architecture, it's true, but he was a very educated and informed architect. And you can be sure that Frank Lloyd Wright would not have appreciated anyone. And he highly appreciated Brice Goff. I wonder how those who work strictly and inhibitedly with a T-square and a rectangle feel when they look at this architecture. Again, this is a picture from the living room. Okay, maybe not in every climate something like this is possible, but he didn't do it for every climate. He did it for a warmer climate within the United States. Another building by him, I go kind of quickly because I have a lot of material to show today, because today is also the birthday of Frank Lloyd Wright. So Frank Lloyd Wright and Bruce Goff and Frank Lloyd Wright were born on the same day, June 8th, but different years. Of course, Bruce Goff significantly younger than Frank Lloyd Wright, about 40 years younger. Anyway, houses by this fantastic architect was not afraid to take risks, to express his imagination. Look at this. Yes, a house built by a human being for other human beings. He was wilder than Frank Lloyd Wright. He was. And he did all kinds of things, you know. His buildings are not a repetition of each other. No, they are not. This one was damaged, or I mean, demolished. I think this is his office somewhere. This is that first house that we looked at. This is a museum he built in, I think, in San Francisco. He continued the work. No, he began the work for a collector of art. I think Japanese art, a museum of Japanese art in San Francisco. Another house. But there are certain similarities to an extent between Bruce Goff and Frank Lloyd Wright, but Bruce Goff is wilder. We saw this one is just a rendering, another rendering. You see here examples of his architecture. It is organic, but differently so than Frank Lloyd Wright's. Another interesting house. Sorry about the resolution of the picture. And look at this. You know, it's engaging. It's intriguing. You don't quite know what's going on. Indeed, he had a remarkable imagination and courage to express himself architecturally. I mean, if this house was built now, it would have been very highly valued. A church. Can you believe it? This is a church. Another house. This is, I don't know where it was built, but anyway, this is a quick aide-memoire, if I am to call it so, of some of the works by this, I would say, unique architect. Look at this, another house. Inside the first house that this one that we already looked at. Sorry, that this presentation is not very well organized, and he deserves better, and I apologize. But as a quick introduction in the work of Bruce Goff, maybe it achieves what it's supposed to do. Hopewell Baptist Church in Edmond, Ohio. We already saw two pictures with it. Here we see, it was refurbished or something. I like it very much. It's a church, but you could confound it with having some kind of maybe agricultural function in a rural area. Why not? Religion and agriculture. The silos and the liturgical space. And look at the interior. It's impressive. before the refurbishment. This is what happens when you have unleashed creativity. Allow the architects to be free, as Maria Olbrich wrote on the facade of the secessionist building headquarters in Vienna, to each time its art, and to art its freedom. Boston Avenue Methodist Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So he was 22 years old here. Well, he worked with some in an office. He didn't work by himself, but you can tell probably that here there is a fantasy at work, an imagination that probably belonged to him in that office. He didn't work here by himself. 1926. Riverside Studio, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1928, the year when the Savoy villa by Le Corbusier was built. It's a different building altogether, of course. Maybe the reference to the Villa Savoy is not, warranted. But this one is a rather interesting house by itself. Not so wild as some other ones that he built. In 1938, 10 years later, Turzak House in Chicago, Illinois. Maybe he has some clin d'oeil towards Frank Lloyd Wright. It's not so spectacular, this one. Again, maybe he didn't want to compete with the master here, but he did it in some other places. Ledbetter House, 1947, immediately after the Second World War in Oklahoma. Look here, already some signs of exuberance, that round, canopy almost floating above the table. And also look at this unconventional stone wall, with its, apparently ruined aspects or parts. Again, he took risks. It's the same house with a ramp inside, but very different, of course, from, since I mentioned Villa Savoy, where also there is a ramp. Bruce Goff. Truly, I mean, even by today's standards, this house has unique elements. Magnificent trees around it, and the intriguing, almost surreal canopy above the outdoors, eating area. Bachman House, Chicago, 1948. Even here, he worked with an existing house and he modified it, the top part, as you can see. So he brought in something, different on the second floor. Maybe with a rather low budget. He created an event, an architectural event, compared to the other houses, left and right. John Frank House, 1955, Oklahoma, Sapulpa. You see very different vocabulary, architectural vocabulary. Now, I don't know if he proposed this carpet also, climbing on the sofa, but the furnishings are probably connected more with the client than with the architect. An interesting house, this one exotic as well. and unexpected after we saw the previous houses. The owner or the house, you know, the owner smiling. Glenn Mitchell House, 1968, Dodge City, Kansas. I understood that some of his buildings, maybe many of his buildings, are in very bad shape, and some, you know, were disappeared. Glenn Harder House, 1970. Truly, his architecture is more exotic and sometimes more interesting than the architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright. This one we saw in a black and white picture previously, and I think it was destroyed or something happened to it and it was rebuilt. Well, the roof does seem to be new, indeed, but the stone towers are as provocative as they always were. Maybe this is a remnant of you know, the previous configuration, so to speak. Jacob Harder House, 1971. I don't know what to think about this one. It's not my favorite house by him, but even here, a lot of creativity. You think a little bit of the Greek Orthodox Church that Frank Lloyd Wright built when you look at this house, which is not a church, of course, but a house. But he's freer actually than Frank Lloyd Wright. Grider House, Ocean Springs, Missouri, 1962. I only have two pictures, but it deserves more. The Grider House roof evokes the sails of the boats on the nearby bayou. And look at this. It's almost like, you know, in a painting by Hieronymus Bosch. The fantastic coming to architecture. The fantastic world. Not bad. And look at this one. Why not? Bonjour, Dakar. Ruth Ford House. We saw a picture of this one or two. Bruce Goff. Well, I read that he is almost forgotten. No, it is not. I didn't forget him, and I'm sure there are other architects who didn't forget him. He was a force. Unusual, yes, exotic, extravagant, but Bruce Goff was a force in architecture, and he has to be acknowledged as such. He had followers like Bart Prince, who even continued his work for that museum in San Francisco. Should the world of dreams be part of architecture? I would say yes. Why not? Do dreams exist? Yes, they do. Do nightmares exist? Yes, they do. Could we express them somehow in architecture? Maybe, but perhaps it's not bad to try. Nightmares as well? I don't know about that. Maybe Luis Barragan was right. Maybe architecture is supposed to bring, you know, peace and harmony in the users. But the deconstructivists thought otherwise. They thought that actually, together with Peter Eisenman, a good building is the one who actually doesn't comfort you, but provokes you, makes you think, makes you uncomfortable even. In that sense, nightmares could maybe inform architecture too, sometimes. But we all look for some kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. So, but either way, I think the dreams, especially in the positive, allures, and maybe even sometimes in the negative, ways, could be and should be present in architecture. So let's wish Briskov happy birthday. Thank you.